PFL buying Bellator was a horrible idea, and I tried to warn every single one of you about it. But y'all didn't want to listen to me. Y'all did not want to listen. Look, PFL has great fighters. I really enjoy Clay Collard. OAM is fantastic. All these guys are really fun. Kayla Harrison's even fun. But their product is terrible. Their production, horrible. You have to sit there between fights for almost, 20 minutes to wait for the next fight. It's just not a fun thing to watch. The whole idea is the product is the fights. They seem to think that it's the show, the entertainment. They don't understand. The entertainment is the violence. I'm here for violence, and violence is what I want to see. I'm your host, Blaine Henry, and today is episode 260 of the Fight Library podcast. And we're obviously talking about PFL 10. This is their first event since the Bellator merger, and wasn't that good. It just wasn't. There was 5 fights that were title fights on this card. Horrible idea. Why was that a bad idea? Because you have to sit through 5-round fights. And not all of them went to the decision, but they want to fill the airtime, it felt like. And I was like, that's not a good idea. Why are we sitting through all these ads when there was a knockout? Oh my gosh, just put on the next fight. It's a pay-per-view. But I understand PFL has to pay bills. There just has to be a different way about doing it. Obviously, with the UFC, we see them plaster sponsors all over the jersey, all over the canvas, and we give them trouble for that. But at the same time, it makes sense why they do it. They're paying the bills while offering us the fights at a good pace. Sometimes. UFC is not always great. So, yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of the fights on this card, and I do want to talk about a few of them today. But I do want to rag on PFL for a second because I'm going to be covering them hopefully for the next year just to kind of up the coverage of more than just UFC and boxing. So, the last thing I want to really kind of get that I had to take away after PFL 10 2023, which is a stupid name for a card. Well, two things really. The stats are stupid. I mean, the punch strike's cool. The speed I can get behind. I understand how the sensor works. But, the AI score, come on, bro. It's just math. Y'all are just doing math. And it's punches, takedowns, and they got all this into consideration. It's kind of dumb. It's just kind of hey, this is our scoring criteria, and we're letting the computer do it. It's never worked, and it will never work, so why are we doing it? It's just a buzzword, really. That's all everybody talks about right now is artificial intelligence. So, the last thing is the commentary. Sean O'Connell, Randy Couture, they're good, but there's no reason why Dan Hardy shouldn't have been on the broadcast because there was no excitement from these guys at all. It was kind of this is a good fight. It was a nice knockout. It was a very nice knockout. At least Hardy brings some life to the commentary. These guys, they didn't really. And it really makes you appreciate John Anik in the UFC. We give the UFC a whole bunch of hard times for their commentary all the time. And it's not terrible. I mean, obviously, I watch a lot of boxing, and boxing's horrible sometimes. Boxing's good sometimes. So, yeah, PFL, hear me out. Fix the production. There's a lot that needs to be changed, and I know you're not going to change it overnight, but I'd like to see some effort for the next card, whenever that may be. I know you are taking January off, so it'll be a while. You have some time to figure things out. Please do it, because last night was terrible. I didn't even stay up to watch the main event. It was so bad. I invested up until 11 o'clock Central Time or something like that, and I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to bed. I'm going to watch the fight in the morning. That's your main event. You should be I should be I need to have this. I need to have it. Give me the main event. But I didn't get it. I didn't have that feeling. I had a feeling of, man, I am tired of watching this, and I don't feel like watching it anymore. I tuned out. Literally. Tuned out of your fight card. Anyways. So, Clay Collard versus Olivier Aubin-Mercier. Fantastic fight. So, yeah, the one thing about PFL, the fights are most of the fights are good. I enjoyed a lot of them on the fight and on the night, and we're going to talk about a few of them today because they deserve to be talked about. These two guys, Clay Collard and Olivier Aubin-Mercier. I'm going to have a hard time saying his name all night, by the way. Ugh. So, yeah. That fight was entertaining to the max. It's just, mwah. It's a really good MMA fight. So you got OAM, Olivier Aubin-Mercier. He's a grappler first, kind of like a great value GSP, which is a major compliment, by the way. But he wasn't quite. He doesn't quite have like the stand up that GSP George St. Pierre had. But Olivier Aubin-Mercier ended up getting the win, but that didn't stop Clay Collard from bringing a good fight. Every time Clay Collard fights, it's fun. Very fun. So the fight started out, and OAM he gets to the legs and gets a takedown, and he's looking for a body triangle and to control, to backpack, and to look for a choke, to club and sub maybe, or just a sub. So it's not a bad game plan at all, and it works for him. He's won 10 straight in PFL. He ran into Gilbert Burns and Arman Tsarukyan and somebody else. I forget who his third loss in the UFC was. He lost 3 straight, and he left ways with the UFC. And I was like, man, he ran into some monsters, especially hindsight. Like, Arman Tsarukyan's going to fight for a title, and Gilbert Burns already fought for a title. Olivier Aubin-Mercier is a really good lightweight. He's very good, and I think he's one of the top 15 in the world for sure. He's a fun fighter. Now, can he be a little boring at times? Yeah. But think about it. He's beat Shane Burgos, Jeremy Stevens, and Anthony Pettis this season. That's a heck of a run. Very good run from OAM. So, he kind of gets the takedown and the body triangle and stuff. Clay Collard had a really cool moment where he rolled and got to 50-50. Couldn't do anything with the leg lock. He kind of just struggled a little bit to get that. But it created a situation where he was like, I can get out of this. And he did. He got out of it, which I was like, yes. And then OAM pushed him to the fence. And yeah, so what Collard wanted to do, he needed to come forward in this fight. And, he did early, but OAM would like find a takedown and bring him to the ground. And that was the end of it. Like, you're going to the ground. He really couldn't gain the respect of Olivier Aubin-Mercier early in the fight. And that was kind of the bane of his existence. He couldn't like get the guy to back up, and when he's coming forward, he's just it's a takedown threat, and especially after you get backpacked for a round, it's like, oh man, what am I gonna do? I can't let this guy stay on top of me, and that's what did him in, really. So OAM Olivier Aubin-Mercier, he gets another takedown, body triangle from the back. And he did this. It's basic stuff, really. He would, so with your body triangle, you've got your foot under your knee, and that's the spot where the defender's supposed to roll to start to work his way out of the body triangle. So what OAM did was he made sure he had that lock on that side against the fence. So they were against the fence, and his foot was basically touching the side of the fence. That way, Clay Collard couldn't turn into the body lock and begin to work his way out. He couldn't scoop up the leg to break the lock, to shimmy his shoulders, all of that stuff. He couldn't do any of that. You know why? Because Olivier Aubin-Mercier decided, hey, you're not doing that. So, it's a tough situation to be in, and it took Clay Collard a second, but he ended up working his way out by putting his feet on the cage. Very old school jiu-jitsu stuff from like UFC 1. We saw Jiri Prohaska do it against Glover to go into that arm triangle to win his title. But what he did was he put his feet on the thing, and he bridged up, and he turned the lock around. Now, the round ended, and he couldn't begin to work, but he knew what he had to do. So round 3 comes around, and OAM, he gets a trip to mount. Hip toss, but Collard ended up managing to explode out, and he'd been investing in the body the whole night, which was a great move. Big fan of punching the body, especially on someone like Olivier Aubin-Mercier, who's going to keep coming forward, and when he backpacks you get tired. So you need to offset that drain in your gas tank. So what do is you hit the body, and every time he had a chance, so there's a really cool moment where Mercier pivoted out, and Collard found the lead hook to the body, to the liver on his, I think it was his right side. But it was like he kept working the body, and it didn't work up until about midpoint through the third round. And Olivier Aubin-Mercier felt it, and I was like, "Oh, this is not good. It hurts. What's going on?" He big uppercuts, and every time Olivier Aubin-Mercier would grab the clinch, so he'd go for the double collar tie and look to start working his grappling from there. Clay Collard was like, "No, we're not having this, son," and just whop, 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 smack his body. He would go up top, and at one point he would even, I think it was the third or fourth round, he would land uppercuts in the clinch and stuff, and Olivier Aubin-Mercier was like, "I'm done with this," and he would exit the exchange. And that's really where Clay Collard had his most success. And it was a great showing from Clay Collard, but in that fifth round, he kind of just dropped the ball. He's a good fighter. He's an action fighter. But he ended up giving Olivier Aubin-Mercier an opportunity to trip because he was, or it wasn't even a trip, he shot a double. He over-pursued after that great fourth round. It was 2-2 apiece, I had it. And he, just over-pursued, was too excited, and let him backpack the entire time. So back to that body triangle we were talking about from, I think, round 2. Collard was like, "Okay, we're getting our feet on the fence," because Olivier Aubin-Mercier had his feet on the fence, or had his the lock on the fence side where Collard couldn't turn into the fence. So Clay said, "All right, we're putting our feet on the fence. I'm bridging up, and we're turning it over." And Olivier Aubin-Mercier said, "All right, we're switching the side of the lock now." So I like that, kind of back and forth game plan. And it was a fun fight. This fight, Olivier Aubin-Mercier managed to get the win. He made his second $2 million, 10-fight win streak in PFL, which is fantastic for somebody like him. He's a great fighter. He should be in the UFC, but guess what? If PFL has a way, there's no he should be in the UFC. He's one of the best fighters in the world, and I want to see him fight in the UFC. I mean, does he beat Islam? No. Does he beat Volkanovski, who's not even no, probably not. I'd like to see him fight Arman Tsarukyan again. That would be fun. But, this guy, he's really good. He's really fun. And he's made $2 million in the last 2 years. The dude deserves every bit of it. I mean, it was a really fun fight. Obviously, the people's main event was Kayla Harrison versus Aspen Ladd. Aspen Ladd gets a lot of crap because of her coach being her husband, boyfriend thing. I don't know. It was, But Kayla Harrison hadn't fought in a year since she lost to Larissa Pacheco, who also got a win. Oh, yeah. Larissa Pacheco struggled with some Russian lass at 145 instead of 155 because PFL didn't do a 155 tournament this year. Hidden Ferreira, he's a big, long, lanky heavyweight, fights like Stefan Struve should. And sorry, I had to clear my throat. He won with a big knockout in the second round over another Russian guy. Who else was there? Impa Kasanganay, the guy who Joaquin Buckley, which that's a stark contrast. Joaquin Buckley's making, I don't know, $15,000 a fight. And Impa Kasanganay, who just received that $1 million fight, was the guy who Buckley had that epic knockout that even Kanye West was talking about. So, yeah, it was cool to see these guys win. Kind of boring at times. But, I mean, such is the fight game. Some fights are fun, some fights aren't. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. I really did, seeing those guys win. But I want to talk more about Kayla Harrison and Aspen Ladd because that was a really interesting fight. So, Harrison came down to 150 from 155. She's fought 145 in the past, which is probably the weight class she should fight at. Harrison, she looked like she had improved footwork. In the year, she's kind of, lighter on her feet, bounces in her step. But as a southpaw, she's fighting an orthodox Aspen Ladd. And I can guarantee you Aspen Ladd doesn't really understand how to fight a southpaw. But Kayla Harrison doesn't know how to take advantage of her southpaw advantage. And you could tell, Aspen Ladd was fine with getting the inside foot, even though, that's something Harrison should be looking for is getting the inside and not the outside foot. Because, in boxing, there's no, you can clinch up, but that's about it. The inside guy will clinch up when the guy gets the outside. So, when I'm talking about southpaw versus orthodox, you got your lead foot and your lead foot together, whereas in an orthodox or southpaw, the feet are like this. They're opposite of each other. They're mirrored. But this, the southpaw versus orthodox. Southpaw guy wants to step around to the outside. He can get the angle, and the offense opens up from there. Kayla Harrison didn't know how to use that. Okay, so like Aspen Ladd was like, I'm fine with getting the inside clinch. So in like mixed martial arts, the inside is okay because, especially for like Kayla Harrison, who's a 2-time gold medalist in judo. Like, okay, I can get in clinch. Like a lot of Shohei Ono's Uchimata's, which is his bread and butter, come from the inside. He steps deep between his opponent's legs. So like Kayla Harrison should be looking for that, but she doesn't seem to know. Like she's like, okay, like she has a striking brain and a grappling brain, and then a top pressure brain right there. They're not connected yet, and she's 15-1, but she hasn't been fighting anybody who made her need to connect it. Aspen Ladd made her need to connect it, and so she gets the leg and she turns against the fence. She shot a takedown. We'll talk about Derek Brunson not turning against the fence in the next one, but she turns against the fence and Aspen Ladd kind of, she falls. So what really kind of gave Kayla Harrison fits this entire fight was the butterfly hook. Shout out to Ghost99 on Twitter. He pointed out it was the reverse Z guard. So Aspen Ladd ended up getting taken down by Kayla Harrison. So she gave up her back. Harrison kind of went off to the side to move to side control or look for an arm triangle, I believe it was. I don't know the difference between them, guys. I'm sorry. But anyways, she looked up for that, and Ladd said, we're going to our back, and she got her feet in. So you got both of Kayla Harrison's legs off to Aspen Ladd's right. Aspen Ladd takes her right leg and hooks it behind the right leg of Harrison. So they're like the two legs next to each other. And with Harrison pushing forward, a lot of pressure, her hips are higher up. So that gave Ladd the opportunity to get that hook in, the butterfly hook, elevate, and she got Kayla Harrison's back. I was like, wow, that's really cool. And, we give Aspen Ladd a lot of hell, but, man, that was a really good game plan. We saw that exact same, so Ghost99 on Twitter, I mentioned his name already, that's the reverse Z-guard butterfly sweep. It's the same thing we saw from Alexander Volkanovski in the first Islam Makhachev fight. So that was great. And we're going to reference Volkanovski again because he's one of my favorites right now, even though I think he's on the way out. So yeah, great win. Kayla Harrison ended up getting the win by decision. If you see me looking out this way, guys, I've got a notebook full of stuff that I take notes on these fights so I can talk about them. Derek Brunson versus Ray Cooper III. Brunson's almost 40. He's 39. Ray Cooper's 30. They both looked almost 40. I don't know. Like, Cooper shouldn't be fighting in middleweight. Yeah, Derek Brunson did not look good at all. Yeah, he got the win, which I'm happy for him. He got paid well, which I'm happy for. This is not what I needed to see from Derek Brunson in the PFL. Like, he's 39. He's almost 40. It's time to hang him up, especially at, like, middleweight. Says in heavyweight, he doesn't have power. So, like, the one point I really want to talk about was, Derek Brunson, he got in on a single, and Cooper was against the fence. And, when you get a single, you want to elevate so you can dump him. And like we talked about with Kayla Harrison, when she had Aspen Ladd's leg elevated against the fence, she had to turn her away from the fence. Derek Brunson said, I don't have to turn you away. I'm just elevate you backwards into this fence. Where's he going to fall? The fence is behind you, Derek Brunson. What are you doing? Terrible, poor fight IQ. And he paid the price for it. Ray Cooper said, you're just going to elevate me backwards? I'm not going to fall. So let me just land some left hooks. And Brunson's chin is so bad at this point. Derek Brunson's chin is so bad that these left hooks on one leg from Ray Cooper, a welterweight, dropped him and lost him that round. Just, wow, fight IQ. Horrible. Let's see. Joel Lopez and Biaggio Ali Walsh. If you didn't know, that's Nico Ali Walsh's brother, the grandson of Muhammad Ali, who his daughter is not Layla Ali. That's not her kids. And Muhammad Ali, obviously, is the great Muhammad Ali. Anyways, Biaggio Ali Walsh, he started with a leg kick heavy game. I like to see that. His brother Nico has good hands, and both of these guys show that the 1-2 is a genetic thing because it's straight out of the playbook of Muhammad Ali. It looked really cool. I was like, man, that's when I interviewed. You could watch on my YouTube. I interviewed Nico Ali Walsh in the past, and it's like, hey, this is Nico Ali Walsh, grandson of Muhammad Ali, obviously. And I told him, like, your 1-2 is a spitting image of Muhammad Ali. And same thing with Biaggio. This is MMA, and it's the same thing. Anyways, Biaggio, he's great. Hands are genetic. He got a really good knockout in the middle of a brawl, which I was like, okay, whatever. But what really concerns me, he's an amateur, so, like, why is PFL putting amateurs? I get it's an Ali Walsh. That makes sense, but, like, we shouldn't be having amateurs. Like, turn the guy pro. Debut him. Like, you got some debuting guys from Bellator, like Jordan Oliver, Bellator. He made his MMA debut on as a pro fight. Like, you shouldn't be having amateurs. If you're the number 2 promotion in the world, like you want to be, there shouldn't be any amateur fights like this. And I get you have to fill your cards out, and I get going in the future with Bellator's assets that this won't be part of it, but that didn't need to happen. Biaggio got the big knockout, and it was nice to see him get another win. 5-1 as an AMI. He lost his debut. Time for him to move up to pro and start taking actual fights. And I mean, he's probably getting paid, but he needs to get paid. Last fight I want to talk about was the second fight on the card. Khai Wu and Phil Caracappa. Wu obviously trains with Mark Zuckerberg. Caracappa's just an American badass. So Khai Wu, he liked to step to southpaw a lot, but he wouldn't do anything from southpaw. And I was like, why are you not doing anything from southpaw? So he's not comfortable striking in southpaw, which I'm okay with. If you're not comfortable with it, okay, great. But you got to do something with it. And I was like, you're not doing anything with it. So he couldn't get Caracappa off of him. Caracappa got some takedowns. Let's see. He stepped across, with the body lock, and it's just some small mistakes by Khai Wu. I was like, okay. And circling back to that southpaw thing and circling back to Volkanovski, so he would switch to southpaw. He looks for that shifting hook. Volkanovski does a lot, so he'll shift back into southpaw and land a lead right hook. That's how he knocked down Yair Rodriguez. I had to think about that for a second. He looked for that all first fight against Islam Makhachev, both going forward and backwards. So, we kind of criticize him for that, and it makes sense. But yeah, anyway, so Khai Wu looked for the same thing here, but he switched to southpaw and went to orthodox and looked for that, and he didn't land. And he was looking for that, and he just couldn't find it because Caracappa kept coming forward. But at the end of the day, Khai Wu couldn't get it done. Hopefully he fights in PFL again because he's a fun fighter, and obviously I've interviewed him in front of the podcast. But yeah. Anyways, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. That's been actually more than time than I thought I'd spend on PFL. Check back tomorrow or tonight. I'll be talking about David Benavidez versus Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. Big boxing match tonight. It's going to be a blast, and we'll finally see the end of Demetrius Andrade. Obviously, all my stuff's down here. FightLibrary.com. You can, Substack is big. We send all of these videos there, or just subscribe to YouTube and get it there. So, up and all of that. And Patreon, if you want to support the channel a little bit more, $5 a month, you get these plus exclusive stuff. The last one is the flying knee. I looked at several different flying knees. And why the flying knee works and what makes it not work. And we're going to be doing a Patreon-only post on Alex Pereira's low kicks next. I've begun active work on that, so it's going to be a blast. Anyway, guys, I'm out. Drop a follow, drop a sub, everything. Peace.